Welcome back, our dear viewers, and concerning the recent developments in the Gaza Strip and the targeting of civilians and the past 48 hours witnessed the killing of more than 100 people and the destruction and the targeting of a medical facility and the killing of journalist. That would be the topic for our discussion for tonight with our dear guest, Ms. Haneen Abu Shanab, member of the General Union for Palestinian Women in Cairo. Thank you so much, Ms. Haneen, for joining us for tonight.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Ms. Haneen, before talking about the mediation and the role of Egypt, we want to shed light about the recent development that took place during the past 48 hours. Massive attacks from the Israeli side against the civilians in the Gaza Strip, and indeed the targeting of a medical facility, the killing of journalists. How do you see these developments and the aggression that maybe was unprecedented since the start of the war in October 2023?
Of course, unfortunately, everyone would assume that given the ceasefire attempts and the several diplomatic and political interventions from international and regional stakeholders, that things would de-escalate or things would actually slow down or anything. But unfortunately, the enemy is very arrogant, is very, they don't stop at any international law, at any regulations, at any, nothing stops them actually. So they do not respect any this is someone doing duty and supposedly protected by international law. I'm speaking about the press and people on the ground, reporters and so on, medical staff. The UN utilities themselves and the facilities have been a target actually of this unprecedented, of course, aggression. However, it's not new to them. It's ethnic cleansing by definition. It's systematic, you know, we are just erasing everything. We are erasing the present and the history of everything. So this is what they're doing. It's planned. It's a strategic move on their behalf, and of course it shakes our grounds. However, it's not something new or different from what they usually do. However, of course, the level is extreme and unbearable, by the least.
Yes. Ms. Haneen will be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi to shed light about the situation on the ground, and Ambassador Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you so much, Ambassador Bayoumi, for joining us.
It's my pleasure. How are you?
How are you, sir? Ambassador Bayoumi, how do you interpret the targeting of the Egyptian embassies and the missions abroad at a time where the country is exerting actually its utmost effort to define the rights of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip in particular and in Palestine in general?
First, if we talk about our embassies abroad, the security of any embassy, it is in the full responsibility of the hosting country. So we are accusing the host country that they are doing their homework, So that's why Badr Abdulati was a little bit angry, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Holland talked to him, and other ministers also. So, but in my opinion, it's not that you don't have to think about revision or to answer back, because attacking embassies is a big mistake, and we do not want to add mistakes to mistakes. The good thing that we have to stick to the rules of the international law and the diplomatic ways of dealing with the matter. As of the situation in our area, it is very complicated, it's very bad. You hear from each partner around you something and something against at the same time. And nobody is telling the truth, as a matter of fact. Especially the Prime Minister of our neighbors. He is always lying, pretending or accusing Egypt that Egypt is closing the Rafah passage. And then we have witnesses of the presidents of other countries, and the Secretary General of the United Nations came and he saw by himself that it is open from our own entrance.
Yes.
things like that. Unfortunately, also is supported by the president of the largest country in the world, and asking him to treat kindly to the Palestinians, while he's supporting him with $15 billion assistance, with armament, with information, secret information, and so on.
Yes.
So, then also, Europeans, some of them told us they are going to recognize a Palestinian state.
Yes.
In September, inshallah, in the United Nations.
God's will, yes.
But we do not forget that the idea of planting Israel in this area, it was Napoleon, the French president, who came here and he said it is good to ask the Jewish community in Europe to come and to occupy this place, to separate the Arab of El Maghrib from the Arab of El Mashriq, from the eastern world, and to be a sword to exhaust the Arabs in this area. So, if you hear something contrary to this, then it is a sort of saying something and something contrary. So that's why it's complicated. What I am aware about is the Egyptian citizen and the public opinion. Our public opinion is not happy at all that we are applying soft diplomacy.
Yes.
And we want us to throw out the ambassador here or the ambassador there.
Yes.
Badr Abdulhadi told us, didn't you realize that we don't have ambassador in Tel Aviv and Israel has no ambassador in Egypt? And to prove that we are against what they are doing, our president receives more than 20 new ambassadors, except ambassador from Israel.
Indeed,
this is to show that we are so angry with them. The thing that there is a sort of no light in the tunnel, but I see in the end of the tunnel a small bit of light. What is it? It is the Palestinian resistance.
Yes, indeed.
I admire really, although the Palestinians are suffering, they are resisting, they go back to their homes, while their homes are totally destroyed, while the Israelis are killing women and children.
Indeed.
And still they are sticking to their land. Contrary to this, you will see that 500,000 Israelis left the country in the last couple of years, because they see that their own original countries are much better than the miserable life Israel is living now. So in the long run, if we continue resisting, if we continue to have long breaths, then we shall win this war, of course, because Israel cannot do two things. They cannot go to war for a long time. They cannot go to war on more than one front. Because they stop the normal life in their own country. So that's why we shall wait and see, and we shall practice a very soft diplomacy, because this is the way we are dealing with them.
Yes, indeed. Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much, sir, for your precious input. Always a pleasure to have you with us. And back to you, Ms. Haneen, on the ground here. Egypt and Qatar, and as well as the United States, of course, were mediating for a peace agreement in order to stop the aggression and stop the fighting and to do the exchange of prisoners and detainees. And we have seen a response and acceptance from the side of Hamas, yet we have seen a delayed reply from the side of Israel, and renewal of aggression and maybe an increase in the level of aggression on the ground targeting the people in Gaza and the civilians. So how do you read the situation?
It's very unfortunate, by the least, of course. Egypt has always been the bigger sister, always leading whatever approaches they can do, whether in diplomatic approaches mostly, or poking here and there people to actually buy them in, and getting some allies from close regional proximity, or even the further ones, like the US, of course. Egypt has always been raising concerns and warning about how things would be like if things escalated and it went regional, not just within Palestine. Of course, it's not just Gaza Strip, it's also in the West Bank, because what we're seeing in the Gaza Strip, of course, there is an increased spot or domain of authority over the Palestinian land in the West Bank, and this is what the media is unfortunately unable to shed a light on. Of course, due to the very shameful aggression that's happening on the Gaza, on the Palestinian people in Gaza Strip. We can say that it's been successful so far, the mediation. Egypt has been able to succeed and actually pull some ceasefire, even if it was temporary, of course, letting in some aid. Although the blockade is still continued, the siege is very, very obvious and very loud. Israelis are very, I don't know what to call them actually. They're benefiting from this, of course. Netanyahu himself is benefiting from this because he has his own lawsuits and beside the agenda, of course. But he's a criminal in his own country, in his own law, of course, and in the eyes of the international law, he's a criminal. So it's actually in his benefit to prolong this war because it grants more success. What he's doing has not been reached by the previous prime ministers or the previous leaders of the occupation, of course. So he wants to increase his legacy on the account of whoever. Actually, on the account of his own people. People in Israel are very upset with him and his regime.
We have seen protests.
Riots. People are fleeing. People are actually, soldiers are actually escaping the army, the Israeli army. People are tearing their passports. They're saying, this is not what you promised. What promised land is this? You're fake. You're full of lies and nonsense. So truth shall prevail, as Ambassador Bayoumi says. Of course, his input has been highly appreciated.
Indeed.
Of course, it reflects the approach of Egypt. Egypt has been always the wise person in the room, with the longest breath, and patience is key, of course, because there is a difference between someone who believes in his rights, even though the others are bullying him, actually, because we've gone to the UN. President Sisi and Egypt has gone to the UN several times. Several other countries have actually gone and used their right to raise concerns to the UN Security Council multiple times.
But
it was always very,
exactly. by the United States.
As always. And this is the attitude of someone who knows that they are weak, they're doing wrong. So this is what we do. We flip the table, we turn tables actually, and we raise our voice. So this is what they're doing.
Yes. Ms. Haneen, how has Egypt coordinated in its mediation effort with other regional powers like the United States, Qatar and Turkey to end the crisis in Gaza? And we have seen Mr. Trump, the U.S. President, talking about the importance of ending the war in Gaza, and that, as he said, could be reached within 2 weeks. How do you see these promises by Mr. Trump, and yet nothing on the ground but more aggression from the Israeli side and more killing for the civilians and starvation? And the United Nations recognized the situation in Gaza as a famine. So how do you read the situation?
Fake lies. Fake lies, empty promises, actually. They've been promising since forever. Countries who have actually been cornered, they're left with nothing to say. Initially, they've been backing up. Israel finding some, I don't know, excuses, backing them up. It's just like you have a child that's misbehaving, and you're a big mom and you want to protect your child. But this child has been terribly misbehaving, and they're putting all the other partners or all the other friends of this child in a very bad position. So they're fed up, and everyone is raising their voice and they're saying this is not, it has to stop. However, unfortunately, and I don't really know why, despite the fact that we've actually gone to the ICC and we've gone to all the international laws and courts and everything with evidences. This genocide has been the most evidented and the most documented.
Indeed. Even journalists were targeted.
Exactly. What else are you waiting for? To put any sanctions on them, to enforce any punishment of any sort? Nothing is being done. So yes. This is a very big question mark actually on the international community.
Yes, we have seen targeting of health facilities. Yes. We have seen targeting of journalists as well as women and children.
Yes, so live. So any international red line has been crossed. Any international it's just violations after violations after violations. The UN facilities themselves have been a massive target. Yes. Mr. Guterres himself has been, at the early days, he has been to the crossing, and he has seen that the aid is not being allowed in. Why? Because Israel doesn't want it to. Yes. Egypt has always been keen on making sure that aid is provided. Actually, I believe almost 80% of the aid is Egyptian. The Red Crescent is coordinating the logistics of the supplies and everything. However, Israel arrogantly stops this by security checks, by anything to just stop this, as usual, for things to rot, for things to go out of validity, for things to, I'm just using my power, I'm enjoying this, like a psychopath.
Yes.
However, Egypt is relentless with the efforts on a diplomatic basis, of course, or the missions are keen on making sure that the Palestinian issue is at least discussed. We've seen Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has taken actually Mr. Macron and took him and to see
the border crossing.
Exactly, to see the injured who are being treated here in the Egyptian facilities. Mr. Foreign Minister, Mr. Badr, has taken the Palestinian Prime Minister. Exactly, as Mr. Ambassador has been saying, we have witnesses, but what else can we do? What else can we do? Someone who's this arrogant
we
by
have
the least.
seen President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi delivering a speech explaining the situation that we are opening the border from our side, yet the Israeli side is closing the border from the other direction.
Of course.
Ms. Haneen, to what extent Cairo has actually managed to voice its official position on Israel's brutality in Gaza as well as in the West Bank? And we have seen Egypt expressing its strongest condemnation today and a denunciation of the Israeli occupation forces storming the city of Ramallah and targeting and wounding the Palestinian civilians in a dangerous escalation of the ongoing Israeli violations even in Ramallah and the West Bank, not only in the Gaza Strip.
Unfortunately. Of course, Egypt has always been keen on making sure that any opportunity or any window of speech that they discuss or they bring up the Palestinian issues, the voice has been very loud and clear and very bold actually with what they share. From the top leader to the youngest and least person of authority actually. Unfortunately, the community is not really responding to the calls and to the statements and to the warnings and to the very dear and kind approaches, so nothing is being heard, unfortunately. However, Egypt and Mr. President, of course, is not easy on this. He's always keen and he always continues to speak and use they don't spare any opportunity actually.
Yes. Also today, Egypt in a statement asserted its rejection for the Israeli obstruction of all opportunities for peace in the region and the warning of the dangerous consequences of the Israeli arrogance and policies which is intending to increase the scope of conflict in the Middle East. What's your take on that, and how do you see these arrogance and the rejection of any peace agreement or ceasefire from the Israeli side, yet we have seen an increase in the level of aggression and violence starting the day before yesterday, 48 hours of complete aggression?
It's a mix of, how can I say, they're weak, they do not have the supplies. This is why Mr. Trump has gone and took a tour to collect money, because they, all the budget that they've allowed for the Israeli project to expand their administrative power over the Palestinian lands and so on. So even with this external supply to their financial and military supplies, they're running out. They're running out of power.
Yeah.
They're running out of everything. This is why the war or the fight is very lengthy, and it requires patience. Of course, they say one thing, they do another. This is why I previously said it's fake lies and empty promises. On the TVs and the lovely screens, they have to look very decent and very approachable and very peacemaker, because this is what Trump is after. But on the ground, they're doing what serves their agenda. Their agenda explicitly says, we want an expansion of our territory. And they've been very bold about this, and they shared it actually with no shame, that we want a piece of Egypt, we want a piece of Jordan, and we want a piece of Iraq. Exactly. And they showed it. They showed it on the screens. So they're dealing with us as if we are some kids, have this lollipop and enjoy it while we take your lunch. So. But again, this is real world. These are countries, these are governments, these are people who have sovereignty. So this is not how things are dealt. This is not a playground in a school.
Unfortunately, yes, Ms. Haneen will go to watch this report about the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, and that the United Nations did announce that the situation in the Gaza Strip is a very catastrophic famine. More details in the following report.
The Gaza Strip, already long described as an open-air prison by international observers, has plunged into one of the most devastating humanitarian catastrophes of the 21st century. After nearly a year of relentless Israeli bombardment and total siege, the United Nations formally declared a state of famine in parts of Gaza in mid-2025. The announcement confirmed what aid agencies and humanitarian workers have been warning for months. Gaza is starving, and the world is watching in silence. Since the conflict reignited in October 2023, Gaza's civilian population has borne the brunt of a punishing military campaign. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble. Health systems have collapsed, and basic infrastructure, including water and sanitation, has been destroyed. Over 35,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to Gaza's Ministry of Health, most of them women and children. Hundreds of thousands more have been displaced, many living in makeshift tents in what remains of southern Gaza or in densely crowded shelters with little access to food, clean water or medicine. Despite repeated international appeals for humanitarian ceasefire, Israel has continued its operations, citing the need to dismantle Hamas and ensure long-term security. But critics, including UN agencies and humanitarian rights groups, argue that the scale of destruction and the impact on civilians are disproportionate and constitute collective punishment, a violation of international humanitarian law. In July 2025, the United Nations officially declared a famine in northern Gaza and parts of the Central Strip. This marked the first time in recent history that famine has been formally recognized in an area not suffering from natural disaster or civil war, but rather a direct result of imposed siege, ongoing military operations, and systematic denial of humanitarian access. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, which is used to determine levels of food insecurity, reported that more than 1 million people, half of Gaza's remaining population, are facing catastrophic hunger conditions. Mothers are unable to breastfeed due to malnutrition, while infants are dying of starvation. According to UNICEF, over 80% of Gaza's children are suffering from acute malnourishment and waterborne diseases, with little hope of recovery under the current conditions. The UN's declaration came after months of warning that Gaza was on the brink of famine. Aid convoys have been repeatedly delayed or denied entry by Israeli authorities. Medical supplies have not been replenished, food distribution networks have broken down, and in many areas even humanitarian workers themselves have become targets of air strikes.
Welcome back to you, Ms. Haneen. How do you see the UN declaration of the situation in Gaza as a famine, and to what extent that could have a reflection on the situation on the ground?
We've heard too many declarations. We've heard too many statements.
Yes.
What have you done? Mr. Guterres himself has been on ground, and he had seen his own supplies not entering. So what's the point? What's the point of hitting something or leading an entity that's unable to actually operate its own facilities or actually complete its own mission? So what's the point? You're saying that this is wrong? Okay, thank you. What's the point again? The population has actually decreased to half. What's left? You're killing people, you're starving people, this is execution. You're finalizing them. Is this the goal? Do you want them displaced? You could have done this without all of this, if this is the resolution. So it's only leading to escalation. It's only leading to an increased angry international community. I don't believe any human being on the globe is happy with what's happening. People have lost faith with the UN, actually. Food programs, humanitarian, blah, blah, blah. What's the point? You're not able to... we're seeing children hungry, crying out of hunger. What's the point? I don't believe in you. You have no authority. You're letting this happen. So people are not starving. We are starving them. We are responsible for this.
Indeed, yes. Ms. Haneen, how do you see the solution for this crisis on the ground, on the humanitarian level, and on all levels, actually? Yet, we have seen a peace agreement or a proposal which was offered by the mediators, Egypt and Qatar and the United States, and yet no response, but more aggression from the Israeli side. So what could be here the way out from this very alarming situation on the ground?
Unfortunately, the attempts here or the resolutions being proposed, one way or another, are biased. Of course, US is there, so everything is biased. However, Egypt continues to push further and to try a different direction, try a different approach and everything. One is angry, so one wants to have a fight. However, this is not how things are resolved. It requires some patience and diplomatic cleverness. Some negotiations here and there, because what's being made on the ground is actually unreversible, unfortunately, on multiple levels. So a two-state solution is the most most practical resolution to be implemented. Egypt has come with this proposal multiple times that we phase them out, or we stage this in three stages. We cease the fire first, then we let in the aid, and we exchange the prisoners, or we release the prisoners, and we go for the long-term resolution, that we find some alternative or short-term ways for people to live in until we rebuild and we reconstruct the country or the land so that people can actually inhabit it in a very يعني we want to preserve people's dignity. It's been shattered, actually. It's been shattered. Unfortunately, this does not really please the Israelis or the Americans, because they want them winning. But we keep pursuing this one way or another. We will succeed, because the other or the opposed argument is that we displace people out. So no, you're not pushing people out. These are Palestinians living on their land, and they will continue to. So people has been very bold.
Sorry for interruption here, Ms. Haneen, but we are witnessing here a complete genocide against the Palestinians in their lands.
Of course, because this is their argument. They want to have a bigger population over the authentic, original people of the land. So how to compare this, or how to debate this against the international law? They want to say, no, we are more, these are less, so the land is ours. Very, very trivial. Very trivial. So this is what they're doing. They've been systematically cleansing the Palestinian people throughout the land, throughout history, ever since 1948. So this is not new to them. Multiple wars have been there, multiple genocides have been there. This is not new to them. We all remember what has happened in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Al-Quds. So this is not new to them at all. About the killing of the journalist on air, they've killed Shireen Abu Aqla. We've all witnessed this. Has anything been moved? No, she holds a U.S. citizenship. Has the U.S. done anything to her? Nothing. So bias again. They have their own agenda. The international community, especially the West, they are in favor of this, because they don't want the Sadiq back to them. So they want it all to stay in the Middle East.
Yes, unfortunately. Ms. Haneen Hazem Abu Shanab, the member of the General Union for Palestinian Women in Cairo, thank you so much for being our guest for tonight. And hopefully the situation will
Thank you for being a voice for Palestine.
Thank you so much, Ms. Haneen. Indeed, a very alarming situation on the ground, with increasing aggression from the Israeli side and the genocide war against the Palestinian civilians. Our dear viewers, that was our debate for tonight. Thanks for watching.